Hello everyone, welcome to card number 3. So starting off, I use the Inkadinkado stamp and my Archival ink to stamp my image. I take my watercolor brush and I go along the whole entire paper. This is just regular cardstock. And I start off using my distress markers in black soot. I wanted to give my image more of a spooky look. So using the black soot, I went around the whole entire image just to give it more of an eerie, spooky backdrop. Before I move on to my next color, I clean my brush. The next color I move on to is called Aged Mahogany, also the Holtz Distress ink. I make sure that I start off using a very light touch, and then as I want, I use more color to give it more dimension and more depth. My next color is Frayed burlap. I just use this just to shade in the book pages. I thought it would be neat to add in something a little bit different, so I added in some blue. I started off with Stormy sky and worked my way to chip sapphire. The next color I used quite a bit of shading on this. It is the dusty concord, and I just start off heavy on the bottom and work it lighter to the top. The next color I moved on to rusty hinge. I use this actually for two different books. I use it for the top and for the bottom book. I start off with the darkest on the outside and work to the lightest on the inside. For the inside of the book, I just used pumice stone. For the skull, I used a combination of pumice stone and black soot. I use the black soot in the darkest spots, and I work my way to the lightest spots using the pumice stone. If you can see, I use the brush on my finger. This is just to see if the brush is actually damp enough or if I need to take off some extra water. I take a 5x11 strip, scored at 5.5, use my bone folder and make a sharp crease. This is my card base. Next, this is black soot on my Stampin' Up! Labels, and I use this so I get a nice crisp white edge. Next, I'm just cutting all my paper down to the desired size that I want. I'm just using my scissors, cutting in the center, and then working from the corners inward to give myself a banner. I've set my layout the way I like, so now it's time to adhere everything into place. I picked up a pretty ribbon from Michael's. I just cut it to the desired length. Using Scotch tape, I just adhere that to the back. Next, I'm using pop dots just to give my image more lift from the actual papers. And I use my scissors to give it a nice pretty dovetail for my bow. I did tie my bow off camera. I used my Amy R's Witchful-ful thinking stamp, and I just stamped out my image. I used my Holtz Distress ink and go around all the edging. I glue the whole entire thing down to my cardstock base. I just finished gluing on my sentiment. Now it's time to move on to the inside. So I already have the basic layout in mind, and I already went ahead and prepped it all. I go ahead and I start gluing everything into place. I'm using the same amyrstamps and I'm stamping out another sentiment. I cut it down and I find out where I want it and I glue it to the inside. So that concludes my card for today. I hope you liked. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone. See you in the next card.